Hey legends! Welcome back to 21 Reasons Why. Today we're breaking down why Sydney Sweeney is better than Scooter Braun, and trust me, this one's gonna sting. From rising Hollywood royalty to meme queen status, Sydney is soaring while Scooter's empire keeps sinking. Buckle up, let's get into it. Sydney Sweeney actually has talent. Let's be real. Sydney Sweeney doesn't just show up, she shows out. Whether it's Cassie crying in a bathroom in Euphoria or climbing into high-octane thrillers, Sydney proves she has range. She's not coasting on hype, she's grinding through roles that demand vulnerability, intensity, and charisma. Talent isn't just about looking good on screen, it's about making people feel something, and Sydney has audiences crying, laughing, and dropping TikTok edits like their lives depend on it. Now compare that to Scooter Braun. His talent is being in the right place with the right checkbook. He's not creating, he's collecting. He doesn't step on stage, he steps on contracts. Sydney builds a scene. Scooter builds resentment. If Hollywood is a dinner party, Sydney's the guest you invite because she tells great stories, and Scooter's the guy who forgets to bring wine, but lectures everyone on how he got rich. The difference is simple. One has an actual craft, the other has spreadsheets. Sydney transforms scripts into cultural moments. Scooter transforms other people's art into leverage. Which one sounds like real talent to you? Exactly. Sydney's the one carrying the torch, while Scooter's still fumbling in the dark looking for another artist's light switch. Scooter Braun's biggest skill is buying masters, not making art. Scooter Braun isn't an artist. He's a collector like that one friend who brags about their vinyl collection, but can't play a single chord on guitar. His empire was built on contracts, lawsuits, and strategic acquisitions. Translation: buying other people's work and calling it a flex. If creativity were a sport, Sydney Sweeney's in the gym sweating through drills, while Scooter's the guy scalping tickets outside the stadium. Sydney actually creates. Every role, every performance adds something to culture. She's building new worlds while Scooter's just flipping houses on the block that artists already built. It's the difference between an architect designing a masterpiece and a landlord raising the rent on it. The irony? Scooter markets himself as this visionary mogul, but his biggest claim to fame is controlling other people's masters. That's like calling yourself a chef because you bought the restaurant cool, but can you cook? Meanwhile, Sydney's putting in the reps, doing the work, and proving that real talent doesn't need ownership schemes to shine. So, yeah, Scooter owns music, but Sydney owns hearts. And one of those pays off way more in the long run. Hold up, your turn now. Drop your most savage reason why Sydney Sweeney destroys Scooter Braun. Funniest takes might just make it into our Users Edition video. So get roasting. Sydney's acting career is rising, Scooter's rep is tanking. Hollywood loves a glow-up story, and Sydney Sweeney is the literal definition. Every year she's climbing higher. Euphoria, The White Lotus, Anyone But You, now blockbuster projects lined up like dominoes. It's the kind of rise you can't fake because the audience decides who they stan. And right now, Sydney's stock is up like GameStop in 2021. Now flip to Scooter Braun. His rep isn't just shaky, it's practically radioactive. Artists are bailing left and right, news headlines read like cautionary tales, and the word scooter is now less associated with music and more with legal drama. If Sydney's career graph is an arrow pointing straight up, Scooter's is a downward spiral meme captioned, "This you?" Here's the kicker. Sydney thrives on fans loving her work. Scooter thrives on artists fearing his contracts. And that kind of reputation? It doesn't age well. The entertainment industry runs on goodwill, fandom, and cultural momentum. All things Sydney has in spades, and all things Scooter is hemorrhaging like a leaky faucet. So while Sydney is busy being crowned Hollywood's next big thing, Scooter is stuck in damage control interviews, praying another controversy doesn't hit. Spoiler, it will. Sydney creates culture, Scooter cashes in on it. Sydney's not just in shows and movies, she's in memes, TikToks, and Stan edits. She sparks conversation, drives trends, and makes Gen Z flood their feeds with reaction clips. That's cultural impact. When Sydney cries on screen, Twitter cries with her. When she laughs, TikTok makes a whole soundboard out of it. She's not just acting, she's shaping the way we talk about entertainment. Scooter? He doesn't create culture, he exploits it. He swoops in after the art is already made, takes ownership, and flips it for profit. He's basically the Wall Street of pop culture, moving numbers around while the actual artists do the hard labor. If Sydney's the chef making a 5-star meal, Scooter's the guy charging you triple for delivery fees. The real difference? Sydney inspires creativity, Scooter monetizes it. One builds lasting legacies, the other builds resentment. One makes art people will rewatch for decades, the other makes deals people will regret for decades. Sydney creates, Scooter collects, and that's why the culture belongs to her, not him. Sydney is beloved by fans. Scooter is feared by artists. Sydney Sweeney walks into a room or onto a screen, and fans light up. She's got that rare mix of relatability and star power. People see her cry on Euphoria, and suddenly they're crying too. They see her in Anyone But You, and it sparks a wave of TikToks about rom-coms are back. Fans adore her because she's human, approachable, and ridiculously good at what she does. You don't just watch Sydney Sweeney, you root for her. Now enter Scooter Braun. The man's brand is literally fear. Ask any artist who's worked with him, and the stories aren't about warmth, support, or mentorship. They're about manipulation, contracts, and power moves. He's the final boss in a music industry video game, and no one's happy to see him on their screen. Fans don't chant his name. They drag it across forums, Reddit threads, and subtweets. Artists don't thank him in award speeches. They lawyer up. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Sydney's building a fandom. Scooter's building a blacklist. Sydney makes people feel seen. Scooter makes people feel trapped. And at the end of the day, love beats fear every single time. You can't trend forever on intimidation, but you can trend forever if people genuinely adore you. So yeah, Sydney's powered by love. Scooter, powered by paranoia. Guess who's gonna last longer? Sydney takes risks on screen, Scooter plays safe in boardrooms. Sydney Sweeney is a daredevil in Hollywood terms. She doesn't stick to one safe, polished lane. She dives headfirst into messy, complicated characters that demand range. From explosive meltdowns in Euphoria to sharp satire in The White Lotus, she's constantly testing her limits. Risk-taking in acting is what separates icons from forgettables. And Sydney, she's on that Meryl Streep starter pack trajectory. Scooter Braun, on the other hand, is the human embodiment of play it safe. His entire career strategy revolves around exploiting already successful artists. He's not out here betting on raw, unknown talent because, let's be honest, he doesn't build stars. He just buys the rights once they're famous enough. That's like joining a fantasy football league and only drafting players after they've already scored touchdowns. Zero creativity, zero risk. Hollywood and music both reward boldness. Sydney thrives because she throws herself into roles that could easily flop. But when they land, they dominate culture. Scooter, his bold moves usually end with Twitter trending #FreeInsertArtistName. Playing it safe in an industry built on imagination doesn't make you a visionary. It makes you a vulture. So while Sydney is lighting up screens with high-risk, high-reward performances, Scooter's in a boardroom stapling NDAS, terrified of losing his grip. One is building legacy, the other is just clinging to contracts. Sydney Sweeney memes are iconic, Scooter memes are disasters. Let's be honest, in 2025, if you're not a meme, are you even relevant? Sydney Sweeney has become meme gold. Her Euphoria crying faces, her White Lotus reactions, even her red carpet looks, all instantly screenshotted, TikToked, and memed into the cultural bloodstream. She's not just acting, she's fueling the internet's comedy economy. If the Oscars gave an award for Most Gifable Actress, Sydney would sweep it every year. Now compare that with Scooter Braun. When he trends, it's never because people are making wholesome memes, it's because the internet is roasting him alive. His meme moments are PR disasters. Artists leaving him, lawsuits surfacing, entire fan bases uniting against him. You don't laugh with Scooter memes, you laugh at them. And the punchline is always, yikes. This is the real difference. Sydney's meme presence amplifies her brand. Scooter's meme presence destroys his. Sydney's faces get turned into TikTok audios. Scooter's name gets turned into hashtags of shame. Sydney memes equals fandom energy. Scooter memes equals internet dunks. And in the age of digital clout, that matters. Memes decide who stays culturally relevant. Sydney gets celebrated, Scooter gets canceled over and over again. So yeah, Sydney's memes build her legacy. Scooter's memes are basically a digital obituary for his reputation. Sydney represents authenticity, Scooter represents exploitation. Sydney Sweeney's entire brand is being unapologetically herself. Whether she's doing press interviews about her grind, opening up about the challenges of Hollywood, or laughing at her own viral moments, people believe her. She's authentic in a way that feels rare in a world of PR-polished sound bites. Fans connect to her because she doesn't act like she's above them. She acts like she is them, just with Emmy nominations and an insane work ethic. Now let's look at Scooter Braun. His brand isn't authenticity, it's exploitation. He doesn't nurture art, he leverages it. He's not giving artists creative freedom, he's controlling their catalogs like a dragon sitting on gold he didn't even mine. When people think of Scooter, they don't think honest guy who empowers creatives. They think of shady deals, lawsuits, and power plays. His name has become synonymous with manipulation, not mentorship. Here's the difference. Authenticity wins hearts, exploitation breaks trust. Sydney inspires fans to root for her every step of the way, while Scooter inspires artists to lawyer up and fans to start petitions. In a culture that values transparency and realness, Sydney thrives because she embodies it. Scooter, he's out here rebranding every 6 months hoping people forget the last scandal. Spoiler alert, they don't. Sydney equals genuine connection, Scooter equals corporate control, and only one of those keeps people cheering long after the credits. Sydney's future is limitless. Scooter's empire is crumbling. Sydney Sweeney is just getting started. She's only in her mid-20s and already has Euphoria, The White Lotus, and blockbuster films under her belt. Directors want her, streaming giants chase her, brands line up for her. She's not peaking, she's ascending. Every role she takes widens the horizon. Hollywood is basically holding its breath, waiting to see just how far she'll go. Spoiler, really, really far. Scooter Braun, on the other hand, is living the opposite story arc. His empire was built on control and intimidation, and now the foundation is cracking. Artists are fleeing like it's a sinking ship. News outlets keep dropping headlines about his clients walking away, and Twitter never misses a chance to dunk on his downfall. He's not expanding. He's defending, scrambling to keep whatever scraps of power he has left. Here's the contrast. Sydney is playing offense, Scooter is stuck playing defense. She's building her legacy brick by brick, while his empire looks like Jenga in the final round. One wrong move and it all collapses. The entertainment industry is brutal, but it rewards growth, risk, and fan love. Sydney has all three. Scooter, he's got lawsuits and bad PR. Sydney's story is a rocket launch. Scooter's story is a slow-motion implosion, and everyone knows which one they'd rather watch. Sydney wins awards, Scooter wins lawsuits. Sydney Sweeney is building a trophy shelf that screams respect. Emmy nominations, check critical acclaim, double check. She's not just being hyped by fans, she's being recognized by the industry itself. Awards are receipts, proof that your peers acknowledge your craft. And Sydney's stacking them early in her career, which means the future is basically lined with more gold statues. Now, Scooter Braun, yeah, different kind of shelf. His trophies come in the form of legal filings, court settlements, and angry artist statements. Instead of winning awards for uplifting creativity, he's winning cases that make headlines for all the wrong reasons. Nobody's giving him a standing ovation at the Grammys. He's not in the room for artistry, he's in the room for arbitration. It's the ultimate contrast. One thrives on recognition, the other on litigation. Sydney gets applause, flowers, and critical love. Scooter gets dragged into courtrooms and Twitter threads. Sydney inspires future actors to chase their dreams. Scooter inspires future artists to double-check their contracts. At the end of the day, Hollywood remembers award winners, not lawsuit winners. Sydney's legacy is being written in gold letters. Scooter's, redacted in legal documents. Sydney supports her peers, Scooter sabotages his. Sydney Sweeney isn't just about her own spotlight, she lifts others up too. Whether it's giving credit to her co-stars in interviews, hyping up collaborators, or showing genuine respect for the people she works with, she builds bridges in Hollywood. That's why everyone wants to work with her. When your reputation is kind, professional, and supportive, doors don't just open, they swing wide. Scooter Braun, he's infamous for doing the opposite. Instead of supporting the artists he represents, he's been accused of undermining, exploiting, or outright sabotaging them. The whole Masters drama with Taylor Swift wasn't just a music industry squabble, it was a global case study in what happens when power gets abused. And it's not just Taylor. Over time, more artists have quietly, or loudly, stepped away from him. That doesn't happen by accident. Sydney's career thrives because she nurtures community. Scooter's empire crumbles because he sows division. One makes people excited to collaborate, the other makes people run for the exits. The truth is simple. Support creates longevity, sabotage creates enemies. Sydney's building lifelong allies in Hollywood, while Scooter is burning through partnerships faster than Twitter burns through memes. In the long run, the supportive one always wins. And spoiler, that's Sydney. Sydney inspires confidence, Scooter inspires distrust. Sydney Sweeney radiates trust. Directors trust her to carry complex roles. Fans trust her to deliver unforgettable performances. Brands trust her to represent them without controversy. She's the kind of star who makes people feel secure investing in her because she always delivers and often over-delivers. When Sydney's name is attached, confidence skyrockets. Scooter Braun, on the other hand, has become a walking caution sign. Artists don't trust him with their catalogs. Fans don't trust him to respect the music they love. Even the industry side-eyes him, wondering what angle he's playing. He's the guy you double-check your contract against, not because he's sharp, but because he's slippery. Distrust is his brand. In showbiz, trust is currency. Sydney spends it wisely, building goodwill that multiplies her opportunities. Scooter burns through it, cashing in short-term gains while torching his long-term relationships. Sydney's name gets cheers. Scooter's name gets side-eyes. Confidence breeds growth. Distrust breeds collapse. And that's why Sydney's star is only rising higher, while Scooter's reputation keeps sinking lower. Sydney actually earns applause. Scooter buys applause. When Sydney Sweeney steps on screen, the applause is organic. She moves audiences with raw emotion, sharp delivery, and performances that stick in your head long after the credits roll. People clap for Sydney because they want to, not because they were told to. That's the kind of respect you can't fake. It's earned, not manufactured. Scooter Braun, different story. His version of applause is PR engineered. He leans on power plays, industry connections, and money moves to craft the illusion of success. Sure, he can buy headlines, book the right rooms, or spin the narrative, but none of that equals real admiration. Fans don't chant his name. Nobody's lining up to thank Scooter in their speeches. The applause he gets feels hollow, transactional, and forced. Here's the kicker. True applause comes from authenticity, not manipulation. Sydney proves this every time a crowd cheers at her performances or critics praise her roles. Scooter's applause, it's the kind that fades the second the checks stop clearing. Sydney's claps echo because they're deserved. Scooter's fade because they're purchased, and history always remembers who earned it. Sydney Sweeney trends for roles. Scooter trends for scandals. When Sydney Sweeney trends, it's because she just crushed a performance. Cassie's meltdown in Euphoria? Instant meme factory. Her chemistry in Anyone But You? A rom-com revival. Even her red carpet looks dominate timelines for days. She trends because of talent, style, and impact. People love talking about her work, and that's the kind of trending every celebrity dreams about. Scooter Braun, meanwhile, trends for all the wrong reasons. When his name pops up, it's usually because another artist cut ties, another lawsuit dropped, or another scandal resurfaced. Nobody's tweeting about Scooter's visionary management style. They're tweeting dunk memes, dragging him in threads, and reminding the world of every messy move he's made. His trending moments aren't cultural celebrations, they're cultural roast sessions. Here's the split. Sydney trending equals love. Scooter trending equals chaos. Sydney goes viral for performances. Scooter goes viral for controversies. One builds a legacy, the other builds a rap sheet of scandals. At this point, Scooter's trending tab is basically a PR nightmare checklist. Sydney's? A highlight reel of why she's cementing herself as Hollywood's golden girl. So yeah, when you see their names on Twitter, you already know. Sydney equals hype, Scooter equals headache. Sydney is rising Hollywood royalty, Scooter is industry baggage. Sydney Sweeney is on the fast track to Hollywood royalty status. She's building a career with depth, versatility, and critical respect. She's already crossed from breakout TV star to movie headliner, a jump many never manage. Every premiere, every role, every campaign she takes on cements her as one of the faces of the next generation of Hollywood. She's not just in the industry, she's shaping it. Scooter Braun, meanwhile, is the definition of baggage. He doesn't walk into a room with excitement around his name. He drags in years of controversies, lawsuits, and artist drama. When his name comes up in a meeting, it's less, wow, what a visionary, and more, ugh, what now? Instead of opening doors, his reputation closes them. He's not the future of entertainment, he's the cautionary tale it wants to leave behind. Sydney represents momentum, freshness, and prestige. Scooter represents baggage, toxicity, and decline. If you're planning the future of Hollywood, Sydney's the actress you put on your poster. Scooter's the manager you hope doesn't get mentioned in your press release. The difference couldn't be sharper. Sydney is ascending the throne, while Scooter is being pushed further out of the kingdom. Sydney's interviews are charming, Scooter's interviews are damage control. Sydney Sweeney in interviews, pure charisma. She's funny, candid, self-aware, and always gives fans a little extra to love. Whether it's a late-night show or a red carpet chat, she comes across as genuine, like the girl next door who just happens to be a movie star. Clips of her interviews go viral not because they're controversial, but because people enjoy her energy. She sells authenticity without even trying. Now, Scooter Braun? His interviews feel like crisis management seminars. Every time he sits down in front of a mic, it's usually to clean up a mess, spin a narrative, or defend his latest controversy. It's not charming banter, it's corporate damage control. Instead of laughing with him, audiences are squinting, trying to figure out what shady deal he's not admitting to. His interviews trend the way press conferences after oil spills trend, necessary, but nobody's entertained. The real difference is vibe. Sydney makes fans smile and trust her more. Scooter makes people suspicious and roll their eyes. One strengthens her brand every time she speaks. The other weakens his with every carefully scripted PR line. Sydney equals captivating. Scooter equals calculating. And only one of those keeps audiences tuning in willingly. Sydney expands creativity. Scooter contracts creativity. Sydney Sweeney doesn't just act, she produces, develops, and actively seeks out projects that push creative boundaries. She's already branching into producing her own films, showing she's not just a face on the screen, but a force behind it. That means she's expanding Hollywood's creative space, giving audiences new stories and fresh perspectives. She's proof that artists can evolve and keep stretching the limits of what they do. Scooter Braun, on the other hand, does the opposite. His brand of management is about control, not expansion. He contracts creativity down to what's profitable, marketable, and tightly owned. Instead of helping artists explore new directions, his reputation suggests he limits them, boxing them into contracts and decisions that benefit him more than their artistry. He doesn't open doors to creativity, he locks them and sells the keys. The difference is massive. Sydney creates new opportunities for expression. Scooter shuts them down. Sydney's career adds to the industry's creative pool. Scooter siphons from it. One is growing the pie, the other is hoarding the slices. Creativity thrives on freedom and risk-taking. Two things Sydney embraces. Scooter, he's busy turning art into paperwork, and that's why one is building legacies, while the other is building walls. Sydney builds bridges, Scooter burns them. Sydney Sweeney is a connector. She collaborates with directors, co-stars, and brands in ways that strengthen her reputation and expand her network. Every project she touches seems to deepen her relationships in Hollywood, making her the kind of person everyone wants to work with again. Building bridges in an industry built on relationships is how you ensure a long career, and Sydney's already a master at it. Scooter Braun, meanwhile, has turned bridge burning into an Olympic sport. Look at his history. High-profile fallouts, public feuds, artists running in the opposite direction. Instead of strengthening relationships, his moves often scorch them. The entertainment world is small. Word travels fast, and when your reputation is the guy who plays power games, suddenly fewer people want to play with you. Here's the truth. Bridges make you stronger, but burning them makes you isolated. Sydney's career thrives because she's creating allies across the board. Scooter's empire weakens because he's leaving a trail of smoldering wreckage behind him. So yeah, one is building Hollywood's future connections, the other is turning them into cautionary tales. And in a business where relationships are currency, Sydney's cashing in while Scooter's bankrupt. Sydney Sweeney is the future. Scooter Braun is the past. Sydney Sweeney embodies what's next in entertainment. She represents a new wave of talent that's redefining Hollywood. Versatile, internet-savvy, and deeply connected to her audience. She's not boxed into one genre or one role type. She's fluid, adapting, and building momentum with every project. Her career trajectory screams longevity because she understands both the art and the culture surrounding it. She's not just part of the industry's future, she is the industry's future. Scooter Braun, on the other hand, is already outdated. His business style belongs to a past era where shady contracts and power hoarding went unchecked. But in today's world, where transparency and fan power run the show, that approach doesn't work anymore. His reputation is tethered to controversies that feel increasingly ancient in a culture that craves progress. He's not moving forward. He's clinging to the past, and it shows. The contrast is clear. Sydney is ascending, Scooter is declining. Sydney's trajectory is forward momentum. Scooter's is backward drag. One is breaking barriers, the other is becoming a relic. If you want to know who shapes the next decade of entertainment, look at who audiences are cheering for. Spoiler, it's Sydney. Scooter's just an outdated footnote in someone else's documentary. Sydney's vibe is art. Scooter's vibe is paperwork. Sydney Sweeney radiates artistry. Every role she takes feels intentional, layered, and creative. Her vibe isn't about contracts or deals, it's about passion, performance, and expression. When you watch her, you're reminded why people fall in love with movies and TV in the first place. She brings the art back into an industry that often forgets it. Scooter Braun, meanwhile, is the opposite. His entire aura screams paperwork, contracts, and legalese. He's not associated with creativity, he's associated with spreadsheets, negotiations, and fine print. Nobody gets inspired by the idea of Scooter Braun's management style. It doesn't move hearts, it just moves money. His vibe isn't art, it's admin. And that's why his name sparks eye rolls while Sydney sparks excitement. Here's the key difference. Sydney creates cultural moments. Scooter files them away. Sydney turns scripts into stories people remember. Scooter turns music into assets to be bought and sold. One makes you feel, the other makes you sign. Art outlives paperwork every single time. Sydney's vibe is timeless, Scooter's is transactional, and when the credits roll, nobody remembers the guy with the paperwork. They remember the artist who moved them. Sydney makes fans dream. Scooter makes artists scream. Sydney Sweeney has the rare ability to pull audiences into her world and make them dream bigger. Whether it's imagining themselves in her character's shoes, shipping her roles in rom-coms, or feeling seen in her raw performances, she fuels imagination. Fans don't just watch Sydney, they escape with her. That's the magic of true stardom, leaving people inspired, hopeful, and dreaming of something bigger. Scooter Braun, on the other hand, he's built a reputation for doing the exact opposite. Instead of fueling dreams, he fuels nightmares. Instead of artists singing praises, they're screaming in frustration about contracts, ownership, and betrayal. His name doesn't spark inspiration, it sparks stress. While Sydney builds fantasies, Scooter builds feuds. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Sydney represents possibility, artistry, and the kind of magic that keeps Hollywood alive. Scooter represents conflict, exploitation, and the corporate machine artists spend their careers trying to escape. Fans dream with Sydney, artists scream because of Scooter. And that right there is why she wins. Not just today, not just in this debate, but in the long run. And that's the showdown. 21 reasons why Sydney Sweeney wins this battle hands down. Now it's your turn. Drop your hottest reasons in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is 21 Reasons Why. Epic debates, legendary comments,